The conference room feels smaller than usual, even though 40 people are crammed onto this video call. I watch the tiny squares flicker on my screen, executives from 3 departments, HR representatives with their cameras off, and Mark, my boss, sitting front and center like he's about to deliver a sermon. "Let's address the elephant in the room," Mark says, his voice cutting through the silence. "The Waverly account. Our biggest client this quarter, and they completely walked. My stomach twists. I know what's coming. "Hannah," he says my name like it's a diagnosis. "Would you like to explain to everyone here what went wrong with your deliverables?" 40 pairs of eyes shift to my tiny square on the screen. I open my mouth, but Mark keeps talking. "The quality checks you were responsible for? The client noticed errors within 24 hours. 24 hours, Hannah. That's not just careless. It's damaging to our entire reputation." I try again. "Mark, I need to clarify. We can discuss excuses later." He cuts me off, his tone sharp enough to draw blood. "Right now, we need to focus on damage control." The chat box explodes with typing. HR's cursor blinks in a private document I can't see. Executives go quiet, their faces carefully neutral. I sit frozen, my hand hovering over the unmute button. This isn't panic. This is planned. 3 weeks earlier, everything felt normal. I was finishing my morning coffee when Mark messaged me on Slack. "Quick process change," his message read. "I'm taking over final sign-offs on the Waverly project. Just temporary while I get up to speed on their new requirements. You keep doing your magic on the builds." I stared at the message, feeling uneasy. For 8 months, I'd handled Waverly from start to finish. They love my work. Their CEO once called me the only person who actually listens. But Mark was my boss. He'd been promoted 6 months ago, brought in from another division with promises of fresh perspective and innovative leadership. He seemed nice enough, always complimentary, always smiling. I typed back, "Sure, makes sense. Want me to walk you through our current workflow?" "No need," he replied instantly. "I've reviewed everything. This is just about me getting FaceTime with the client. You're doing great." The compliment felt like a pat on the head. I should have questioned it then. Should have asked why he needed final approvals when he'd never touched the project before. Instead, I said, "Sounds good," and went back to work. That Tuesday afternoon, I updated all my tracking sheets, moved Mark to the approval column, and sent him a summary of pending decisions. He responded with a thumbs-up emoji. I smiled at my screen, thinking I had a supportive boss. Looking back now, I see exactly what he did. That one change, moving himself into the approval chain, created a perfect trail. Every decision that went wrong would trace back to my builds, my recommendations, my name on the initial reports. When things fell apart, he'd have documentation showing he tried to help but inherited problems from my work. After the meeting ends, I sit staring at my blank screen for 10 minutes. My hands shake. I feel like I've been punched in the stomach in front of everyone I work with. I need to talk to someone who knows the truth. Lena, my closest friend in the office. We started the same week 3 years ago, survived the same terrible training program, celebrated promotions together. She knows how I work. She's seen every late night I've pulled for Waverly. I call her directly. She picks up after 5 rings. "Hey," she says, her voice flat. "Lena, I need you to back me up on something. You remember the process change Mark made 3 weeks ago, right? When he took over final approvals?" Silence stretches between us. I hear her breathing. "Lena? Hannah." She pauses. "Mark says the approval process was always your responsibility. That's what the documentation shows." My blood runs cold. "What? No. He changed it. You saw the Slack message. I showed you." "I don't remember seeing that," Lena says quietly. "And honestly, Hannah, I think you might be misremembering. You were pretty stressed that week." "Lena, what are you talking about? We had lunch that day. I told you Mark was taking over sign-offs, and you said it was weird that he'd micromanage like that." "I don't think that conversation happened," she says, and I can hear something in her voice. "Fear? Guilt? Why are you doing this?" I whisper. She doesn't answer. The line goes dead. I sit there holding my phone, feeling like the ground just disappeared beneath me. 2 hours later, I get a calendar invite from HR. The subject line reads, "Performance Review Discussion." My heart hammers against my ribs as I open it. The meeting is scheduled for tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., 30 minutes. The note at the bottom says, "Please bring documentation regarding your recent project responsibilities." I call the HR representative, a woman named Vanessa, who I've spoken to maybe twice in 3 years. "Hi, Hannah," she answers immediately, like she was waiting. I know this seems sudden, but given the situation with Waverly, we need to formally document everything. It's standard procedure. Standard procedure for what? I ask, keeping my voice steady. "Performance improvement plans," she says carefully. "Just to make sure we have a clear path forward. You'll want to gather any emails, reports, anything that shows your work process." The way she says it, clinical rehearsed, makes my skin crawl. "Vanessa, I need you to understand that Mark changed the approval process 3 weeks ago. I have records." "That's exactly what we'll review tomorrow," she says, but her tone isn't curious. It's conclusive. "Please make sure you have everything organized. This review will become part of your permanent file." After we hang up, I open my email and start searching for Mark's Slack message. It takes me 3 minutes to find it, but when I do, my mouth goes dry. The message has been edited. The timestamp shows it was changed 6 days ago. Now it reads, "Hannah, you'll continue handling final approvals on Waverly. Let me know if you need any support." I'm walking past the conference room the next afternoon when I hear Mark's voice through the door. "So, your background is in quality analysis? Perfect. That's exactly what we need." I freeze mid-step. Through the narrow window, I see Mark sitting across from a young woman with a portfolio spread across the table. She's nodding eagerly, taking notes. "The position would start in about 2 weeks," Mark continues. "We're just finalizing some internal transitions." Her position. My position. Mark glances up and sees me standing there. Our eyes meet through the glass. He doesn't flinch, doesn't look guilty. Instead, he smiles, warm, professional, and gives me a small wave like I'm an old friend passing by. My legs feel numb as I walk back to my desk. I sit down, log into my computer, and stare at my desktop for a long moment. Then I open my personal cloud storage. For 3 years, I've saved everything. Every project file, every original report, every version of every document before Mark or anyone else made changes. It's an old habit from my first job, where a manager once tried to blame me for her mistake. I swore I'd never be caught without proof again. I start organizing folders. Waverly gets its own section. I download every email, every Slack thread, every shared document from the project. Then I check the edit histories. That's when I see it. Someone accessed the shared Waverly folder 6 days ago and modified permissions. Files I created now show Mark as the primary owner. But timestamps don't lie. And metadata keeps receipts. I spend the entire weekend digging through 3 years of work. My coffee goes cold 4 times. My cat meows at me for dinner, and I barely notice. The pattern is everywhere once I start looking. The budget system everyone praises Mark for implementing? I built it. I can prove it with dated screenshots and version histories showing my name on every formula. The client retention strategy he presented at last quarter's leadership meeting? My slide deck, my research, my recommendations. I have the original file saved with my notes in the margins. The automated reporting tool that saved the department 15 hours a week? I coded it on 3 consecutive weekends. My personal laptop still has the development files. Everything Mark has been praised for, everything that made him look like a strategic genius, it all came from my late nights, my problem-solving, my work. He didn't just take credit once. He built his entire reputation on my silence. I find emails where I sent him suggestions and he forwarded them to leadership as proposals. I find meeting notes where my ideas were presented as collaborative solutions with his name listed first. I find performance reviews where he praised my support of his initiatives. Support. Like I was just helping him execute his vision. My hands shake as I organize everything into a single folder. 500 files. 3 years of evidence. But here's the problem. If I present this, I'll look bitter. I'll look like someone desperately scrambling to save her job. I'll be the person who couldn't handle criticism and started pointing fingers. Monday morning, Lena appears at my desk before I've even turned on my computer. "Can we talk?" she whispers. "Not here." "Coffee." We walk to the cafe across the street in silence. She orders an espresso and downs it in 2 gulps, then orders another one. "I'm sorry," she finally says, not looking at me. "For what I said on the phone. For lying." "Why did you?" I keep my voice quiet, even though I want to scream. "Mark called me right after his meeting with you. He said." She swallows hard. "He said budget cuts are coming. Real ones. He said only team players would survive the restructuring. People who supported leadership during difficult decisions. So you sold me out to save yourself." "Yes." Her voice cracks. "I have student loans, Hannah. My mom is sick. I can't lose this job. I can't." I want to hate her. Part of me does. But I also understand terror. I understand choosing survival. "He's lying to you," I tell her. "There are no budget cuts. He's just covering his own mistakes by pushing me out. And when he's done with me, he'll find someone else to blame." Lena looks at me with red eyes. "I know," she whispers. "I know that. But I'm scared." "Then help me," I say. "Help me prove what actually happened." She stares into her coffee cup for a long time. Finally, she nods, just barely, like even this small act of defiance might break her. "I have meeting notes," she says quietly, "from when Mark changed the processes. I wrote them down because I thought it was weird. I still have them." That afternoon, my phone rings. Unknown number. "Hannah? It's Cameron Reeves. Not sure if you remember me. I was the operations director at Waverly." I sit up straighter. "Of course I remember. How are you?" "Good, good. Actually, I'm calling because I moved to a new company. We're expanding our analytics division and I immediately thought of you." He pauses. "Look, I'll be honest. I always knew your boss was taking credit for your work. Everyone at Waverly knew. You saved our account 3 times, and Mark showed up for the praise calls." My throat tightens. "I appreciate you saying that." "I'm serious about the job," Cameron continues. "Better title, better pay, and you'd be running your own team." "Interested?" I should say yes immediately. "This is my exit, gift wrapped and handed to me. Can I think about it?" I hear myself say. Cameron sounds surprised. "Of course. But Hannah? Don't let loyalty keep you somewhere that doesn't value you." After we hang up, I sit at my desk staring at nothing. My coworkers bustle around me, typing and talking and laughing like the world isn't ending. Why am I not running toward the exit? Because leaving means Mark wins. Leaving means the truth stays buried. Leaving means the next person who works for him will face the same thing, and they might not have proof saved. I'm not fighting for my job anymore. I'm fighting for the truth. Mark gets sloppy. I notice it on Wednesday when he presents a corrected analysis of the Waverly failure to senior leadership. He sends it to the whole department afterward, like he's being transparent. But I have the original report, the one I wrote 2 weeks before Waverly left. I open both documents side by side. He changed the dates. He changed the recommendation timeline. He changed who attended which meetings. Most importantly, he changed who approved the final deliverable. In my original report, I clearly noted, pending final approval from Mark T. before client delivery. In his version, final quality check completed by Hannah. Approved for delivery. He's rewriting history in real time, and he's doing it so fast that he's making mistakes. I check the document properties. The metadata shows he edited it at 11 p.m. last night. The original version, my version, was created 3 weeks ago and hasn't been touched since. I save both files. I save the comparison. I save screenshots showing the edit history. Then I noticed something else. In his rush to rewrite the narrative, Mark sent one of his drafts to me by accident. It's sitting in my email with a timestamp from 2 days before the client walked. In that draft, he approved everything. Every single decision that led to the failure. He forgot to delete his own paper trail. The HR meeting arrives. Vanessa sits across from me with a legal pad and a laptop, her expression carefully neutral. Let's start with your understanding of your responsibilities on the Waverly account, she says. I spent all night preparing for this. I know what she expects. Excuses, defensiveness, maybe tears. Instead, I open my folder and pull out a timeline. I managed Waverly for 8 months. I begin, my voice calm. Here's the full project history, including every deliverable, every client communication, and every approval checkpoint. I slide the timeline across the table. Vanessa's eyebrows rise slightly. On October 15th, Mark requested to be added to the final approval process. Here's the Slack message, including the original version before it was edited. I show her screenshots with timestamps. Her pen starts moving faster across her notepad. On November 2nd, Mark approved the final deliverable for client submission. Here's the email confirmation where I specifically requested his sign-off before sending. I pull out the printed email. Mark's name is right there. Looks good. Send it over. On November 5th, the client reported issues. Here's my immediate response recommending we pull back and review. Mark overruled me, stating we should stand behind our work. Vanessa stops writing. She looks up at me, and something shifts in her expression. These are very specific details, she says carefully. Do you have documentation for all of this? For the first time in weeks, I feel like I can breathe. Mark tries a different approach. Tuesday afternoon, he sends me a private message. Hannah, I'm worried about you. You seem stressed and emotional lately. Have you considered talking to someone? The company offers counseling services. I stare at the message, anger burning through me. He's framing me as unstable, setting up a narrative where my evidence becomes the paranoid obsession of someone who couldn't handle pressure. I don't respond immediately. Instead, I screenshot the message and add it to my folder labeled retaliation. 3 hours later, he sends another message. Just want to make sure you're okay. I know you've been working long hours. Maybe some time off would help? No pressure, just concerned. The subtext is clear. Leave now, before the audit concludes. Take a mental health break. Disappear quietly. I screenshot that one too. Then I respond. I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine. Looking forward to the audit, actually. Transparency is always good. He doesn't reply. That night, I get an email from Patricia's assistant, scheduling my audit interview for Thursday morning. 1 hour. Patricia will conduct it personally. The biggest interview of my career, and it's not for a promotion. It's for survival. Wednesday afternoon, Cameron calls again. Hannah, I need an answer. We're moving forward with interviews this week. I look at my desk. 3 years of work, memories, friendships. Then I look at Mark's office across the floor. What's the title? I ask. Senior Analytics Director. You'd have your own team, full budget authority, and direct report to the VP. Salary is $85,000 plus bonus. That's $20,000 more than I make now. And actual authority. I need 1 more week, I tell him. The audit concludes Friday. I want to see it through. Why? Cameron asks gently. Why stay somewhere that treated you like this? I close my eyes. Because if I leave now, he wins. And the next person who works under him goes through the same thing. You know you don't owe them that, right? You don't have to be the hero. I'm not being a hero, I say quietly. I'm being a witness. Someone has to tell the truth. Cameron is quiet for a moment. Okay, 1 week. But Hannah? Win or lose, you have a place here. Don't forget that. After we hang up, I open my audit preparation folder. 500 files organized into 12 categories. 3 years of proof. Tomorrow I tell my side. And this time, someone's actually listening. Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Patricia's office. She's younger than I expected, maybe early 40s, sharp suit, intelligent eyes that miss nothing. Her desk is covered with printed documents. Thank you for meeting with me, she begins. I've spoken with 6 team members so far. Your name came up in every conversation. My stomach tightens. In what context? People rely on you, she says simply. Your systems, your analysis, your troubleshooting. Multiple people told me that when something breaks, they call you, not Mark. She pulls out a document. I recognize it immediately. It's my budget system. Mark presented this as his innovation last quarter. But the metadata shows you created every formula. The original file is saved under your name. And when I asked Mark to explain how it works, he couldn't. She pulls out another document. Then another. Each one a project Mark claimed. What I'm struggling to understand, Patricia says, leaning forward, is how a senior analyst ended up carrying this much responsibility while her manager took credit. Why didn't you speak up? I think about that carefully. Because speaking up makes you look bitter. Because it's your word against his. Because he's the boss and you're just the analyst, and who's going to believe you? I believe you, she says quietly. And so does everyone I've interviewed. She opens her laptop and turns it toward me. On the screen is a spreadsheet. Column A lists every major project from the past year. Column B shows who presented it. Column C shows who actually built it. Mark's name fills column B. My name fills column C. This is a pattern, Patricia says. And patterns don't lie. That afternoon, Mark calls an emergency team meeting. I've heard rumors, he begins, his voice tight, that people have been talking to leadership. Spreading negativity. Undermining this team. He's not looking at anyone specific, but I feel his eyes slide past mine. Let me be clear, he continues. This department succeeds or fails together. When one person tries to tear down leadership, they're tearing down all of us. Justin unmutes. What if leadership is the problem? The room goes dead silent. Mark's face flushes red. Excuse me? You asked for honesty in the audit, Justin says calmly. That's what we gave. If you don't like what we said, maybe the problem isn't our honesty. You're out of line, Mark snaps. Am I? Justin pulls up a shared screen. It's an old presentation, one Mark delivered to executives 6 months ago. This is your strategy deck from April, except it's not yours. Every slide was built by Hannah. I watched her do it. We all did. Other cameras unmute. People start talking over each other. The reporting automation was Hannah's. She fixed the Waverly account 3 times. You literally copied her emails word for word. Mark's face goes from red to white. This meeting is over, he says, his voice shaking. We'll discuss insubordination with HR. But people keep talking. They're done being quiet. He disconnects from the call. The rest of us sit in stunned silence. Then someone starts laughing. Then someone else. The tension breaks like a dam. We just watched Mark lose control in real time. And it felt like justice. Friday morning. The final review meeting. Patricia is there. Vanessa from HR. 2 other executives I don't recognize. And Mark, sitting at the far end of the table, looking like he hasn't slept. Let's walk through the Waverly account, Patricia begins. Hannah, can you explain your role? I open my prepared document. 40 pages, every detail cross-referenced and sourced. I managed Waverly for 8 months. I have documentation of every deliverable, every client call, every approval checkpoint. I walk them through the timeline, slowly and clearly. When I reach October 15th, I pause. This is when Mark requested to take over final approvals. Here's the original Slack message, the metadata, and my response confirming the change. I show them the unedited version. Mark's face goes rigid. Here's the edited version that appeared in a shared folder 6 days ago. I show them side by side. The timestamp difference is undeniable. On November 2nd, I sent the final deliverable to Mark for approval. Here's my email specifically requesting his sign-off. I read it aloud. Mark, attached is the final Waverly package. Please review and confirm approval before I send to client. His response, 2 hours later. Looks good. Send it over. Patricia looks at Mark. Is this accurate? He opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. I don't recall that specific email, he finally says. I have the metadata. I say quietly. It shows you read it, replied to it, and archived it 3 days after Waverly complained. Silence. Maybe I misunderstood Hannah's question. Mark tries. Maybe she was asking for general guidance, not formal approval. Patricia slides a document across the table. It's Mark's own email, from 2 weeks before Waverly left. This is you emailing the executive team, Patricia says. You wrote, and I quote, I've personally reviewed and approved all Waverly deliverables to ensure quality. Hannah continues to do excellent support work. Mark stares at the paper like it might bite him. You told executives you approved everything, Patricia continues. Then when the client complained, you blamed Hannah for quality failures. Which version is true? Both, Mark says desperately. I approved the strategy, but Hannah was responsible for execution. Here's the execution checklist. I interrupt quietly, sliding over another document. Every line item has your initials next to approved. You signed off on every single deliverable. An executive I don't recognize leans forward. Mr. Thompson, I've reviewed the documentation. You approved every decision that led to this failure. Then you publicly blamed your analyst and initiated termination proceedings. Do you dispute these facts? Mark looks around the table. No one is looking at him with sympathy. I was trying to protect the team, he says weakly. By sacrificing someone who did everything right? Patricia asks. Mark slumps in his chair. There's nowhere left to hide. Patricia stands. Based on this review, I'm making the following recommendations to leadership. Mark Thompson will be immediately removed from his position pending termination review. Mark jerks upright. You can't. I can, Patricia says firmly. You falsified records, blamed a direct report for your decisions, and attempted to terminate her to cover your mistakes. That's cause for immediate dismissal. I built this team. Mark's voice cracks. Everything we've accomplished. Hannah built it, Justin says from the corner where he's been sitting quietly. We all know it. The only person who didn't know was you. Mark looks around the table desperately. No one speaks up for him. Not one person. This meeting is concluded, Patricia says. Mark, please collect your personal items. Security will escort you out. He starts to argue, then stops. He stands slowly, grabs his phone, and walks to the door. Just before he leaves, he looks back at me. I can't read his expression. Anger, humiliation, disbelief, maybe all three. I don't say anything. I just hold his gaze until he looks away. The door closes behind him, and I realize I'm shaking.
Not from fear this time.
From relief. After the meeting, Patricia asks me to stay. Hannah, I want to formally apologize on behalf of leadership. This should never have happened. Thank you, I say quietly. We'd like to offer you Mark's position with appropriate title and compensation adjustment. You've essentially been doing the job already. I take a breath. Can I think about it? She looks surprised. Of course. But may I ask why you're hesitating? Because I have another offer, I admit. And I'm not sure I want to stay somewhere that let this happen. Patricia nods slowly. That's fair. But if you choose to stay, things will be different. I promise you that. That afternoon, I sit in my car in the parking lot and call Cameron. I want the job, I tell him. When can I start? 2 weeks, he suggests. That gives you time to wrap up. Perfect. After I hang up, I don't feel triumphant. I just feel tired. I proved the truth. I cleared my name. But I also learned something important. Proof isn't the same as prevention. The system that let Mark thrive is still there, ready for the next person who knows how to exploit it. Maybe that's why leaving feels right. Not because I'm running away, because I'm choosing myself. Monday morning, I'm packing my desk when Mark appears. I don't know how he got into the building. Maybe security didn't process his termination yet. He looks terrible, unshaven, rumpled clothes, eyes red. Hannah. I keep packing. You shouldn't be here. I know. He's quiet for a moment. Why didn't you protect me? I stop. Turn to face him. Protect you? We were a team, he says desperately. You could have backed me up. Instead, I protected the truth, I say calmly. You just weren't on the right side of it. I gave you opportunities, he continues, like he hasn't heard me. I promoted your ideas, gave you visibility. You stole my work, I correct him. You took credit for 3 years of my late nights, then blamed me when something went wrong. And when I had proof, you tried to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy. It wasn't personal, he says weakly. Yes, it was. You sacrificed me to save yourself. That's as personal as it gets. He stands there, deflated. What am I supposed to do now? Learn, I tell him. Learn that other people aren't stepping stones. Learn that leadership means protecting your team, not yourself. They'll never hire me again, he whispers. Probably not, I say. Turns out stealing credit and falsifying records doesn't look great on a resume. Security appears at the end of the hallway. Mark sees them and leaves without another word. I watch him go, feeling nothing but tired. Lena stops by my desk that afternoon. I'm sorry, she says again. I should have stood up for you from the beginning. You were scared, I tell her. I understand that. Scared isn't an excuse. I chose my safety over your truth. That's something I have to live with. I study her face. She means it. The guilt is real. Thank you for the meeting notes. I say finally. They helped. It's not enough. No, I agree. But it's something. She nods, accepting the partial forgiveness. For what it's worth, I'm trying to be braver now. I spoke up in my audit interview. Told them everything. That matters, I tell her. Maybe more than you think. She gives me a sad smile. Still friends? I consider it. Ask me again in a few months. Right now, I need some space. Fair enough. She walks away, and I feel the weight of it. Some friendships break and can be repaired. Some break, and the cracks always show. I don't know which this is yet, but I know I'm allowed to decide that later. 2 weeks later, I'm in my new office at Cameron's company. The desk is clean, the computer new, the team welcoming. A former coworker texts me. Mark's replacement started today. She asked where all the systems documentation is. Turns out Mark never documented anything you built. I smile. Not my problem anymore. The department is struggling without you. They'll figure it out. Patricia asked if you'd consult part-time. Help train the new person. I don't respond immediately. Part of me wants to help. The people I left behind are still good people. But another part knows that returning, even temporarily, would be a step backward. Tell them no. I finally type. But tell them good luck. That afternoon, I hear Mark was officially terminated. No severance, no recommendation letter. His LinkedIn profile disappears. Someone from my old team sends me the announcement. Leadership thanks Mark for his service. Nothing about the investigation. Nothing about the lies. Just a clean, corporate exit. I close the message without responding. My new manager pops her head into my office. Ready for the team meeting? Absolutely, I say. This is my fresh start. 3 months later, I'm presenting my first major analysis to my new company's executives. The room is full of people I respect, and they're actually listening. When I finish, the CEO stands and applauds. This is exactly the kind of strategic thinking we hired you for. Thank you, Hannah. No one took credit. No one edited my work. No one questioned whether I really did this. After the meeting, I check my phone. There's a message from Lena. Saw your company's press release. Congratulations on the promotion. You deserve it. I smile and type back. Thanks. How are things? Getting better. New management is actually competent. It's weird. Good weird.
Yeah.
Good weird. That night, I think about Mark. About the review meeting, the lies, the fear. I think about staying quiet while he built his career on my silence. But here's what I learned. Staying quiet wasn't weakness. It was strategy. I didn't shout my truth in anger. I documented it carefully, presented it calmly, and let the facts speak for themselves. I didn't destroy Mark. I just stopped saving him. And sometimes that's enough. The truth didn't need shouting. It just needed time.